Take a look at this. Here's a list of the top 5 teams who took the most free throws in the previous couple of years. As you can tell, the top 5 in both years attempt around 23 to 24 free throws a game. That seems okay, right? But now check this out. At the time I'm making this video, in the 2025-26 season, we're almost 1/3 of the way in, and there are 24 different teams who attempt at least 23 free throws a game. The top 5 now looks like this. An absurd increase in the number of free throws attempted, not just for a few teams, but every team in the league has experienced this inexplicable spike in free throw attempts. Now, the pace has gotten faster a little bit, but not enough to justify this. So why? What can possibly be a reasonable explanation for this? If you're a casual viewer, you might not notice this, but if you watch the NBA religiously, it starts to piss you off, with all the delays and the stoppages and the interruptions. However, if you remember a few years ago, Adam Silver and the NBA league office made a concerted effort to reduce the number of free throws. Back in the summer of 2023, they added penalties if an offensive player embellishes contact to draw a foul. And they stopped calling the rip-through motion as a shooting foul, the infamous move made popular by Kevin Durant and Chris Paul. These changes were made in response to fans' complaints about too many free throws causing the games to slow down, and it worked to an extent. But now, the free throw epidemic has returned with force and set ablaze the NBA landscape. This time, however, the causes are different, so let's take a look at 3 main reasons that triggered this new free throw epidemic. Hey guys, before we continue with this video, I want to give SeatGeek a huge shout out. With 35 million downloads, over 70,000 events listed, SeatGeek is the #1 rated ticketing app for a reason. Basketball season is ramping up very quickly, and it's the perfect time to get some tickets for yourself or maybe a loved one. With SeatGeek, you can see the view of every ticket on your app, and each one is rated on a scale of 1 to 10. Green dots mean they're great, while red dots are bad. You already know I've used SeatGeek multiple times for concerts, basketball games, and more, so of course you know I got a deal for you guys. Use my promo code ANDYHOOPS10 for 10% off your next set of tickets at SeatGeek. That's 10% off any tickets with my promo code ANDYHOOPS10. Click the link in the description to download the app and have the code automatically added to your account so you can use it later. Thank you to SeatGeek for sponsoring this video. The High Five Rule. You might not have heard of this, and that's fine. Most people haven't because it flew under the radar. So at the start of the season, the NBA quietly implemented a new rule. With the rise of three-point shots and teams averaging nearly 40 threes per game, the most common way to defend this is, rotate, close out, and contest. In the past, when a defender runs out to contest, he might make some incidental contact with the shooter's hand. But as long as you don't hit them on the wrist or the arm, it's legal contact. That's why it was called a high five, because you can hit a person's hand and get away with it. Apparently, not anymore. Monty McCutcheon, the senior VP and basically the guy in charge of making changes to foul calls, he made a statement in September of 2025, claiming, quote, "A defensive foul will be called this season on this type of contact." This is interesting. It's one of those changes that make you wonder what prompted the league to make this change. Why start calling fouls when you hit someone's hand now, when for the last 50 years, nobody cared? Well, I found this article by Colin Ward Henninger, and he brought up Steve Kerr's complaints to the NBA as a reason for this new rule. And then I remembered. There were some heated moments that happened during the 2025 playoffs between the Houston Rockets and Golden State Warriors. This was a very physical series, and there were moments where Dillon Brooks hit Steph Curry's shooting hand on jump shots, the same hand where Curry had a lingering thumb injury.
Tonight said he thought you were intentionally trying to swipe down on Curry's thumb, and Kerr was asked about it and said it happens around the league.
If you're gonna come play the game injured, if I had an injured ankle, I would attack that ankle every single time.
The refs usually would not call a foul on this because, hand is considered ball, and it was fine to hit their hand after a shot release. But Brooks took it too far and was super aggressive with it, to the point where Steve Kerr believed he was intentionally trying to injure him. Afterwards, Kerr was very vocal to the league office to change this rule, at least make it so defenders can't hit their hand anymore. His request was granted. The result, according to NBA.com tracking, offensive players are getting fouled 17% more on jump shots, also slightly higher on three-point attempts too. Now, it's bound to return to normal over time, as defenders get accustomed to this new change, but it still presents a new level of caution they gotta be aware of. You can't just recklessly close out and aim for the hands anymore, which is a common strategy from the more feisty defenders. Now, in theory, I think it's a good distinction to make. If players take advantage of a rule like this and try to injure somebody, it should be penalized. But on the back of my mind, I'm like, okay, well, NBA offenses are already as efficient as they ever been, and this presents yet another obstacle for defenders to be cautious of. Of course, it's not just the high five rule that sparked an increase in free throws across the league. Hyper-efficient scoring from guards. Offense has gotten more efficient than ever, with the forefront of the push led by the NBA's guards and wing players. Here's the thing, besides a few outliers, for much of NBA history, big men have dominated in the efficiency category, and it's simply because they score closer to the basket. Wing players and guards, on the other hand, were routinely blamed for taking too many jumpers and not feeding their bigs enough. Heck, even Kobe got criticized early in his career for doing that. Nowadays, check this out. Out of the top 25 most efficient scorers in the league, 12 of them are guards or small forwards, up from 7 in the previous year and 6 in the year before that. That's actually insane. There's literally double the number of guards and wings at the top of the efficiency ranks. And you know the secret? Free throws. If a guard wants to maximize efficiency, he needs to draw more fouls, and everyone is starting to realize this. Guys like Luka Doncic, Donovan Mitchell, Anthony Edwards, they're all averaging a career high in free throw attempts. Austin Reeves is shooting twice as many free throws than ever before. Recently, Jaylen Brown made this controversial statement targeting Shai Gilgeous-Alexander.
If you want to be an MVP, you want to be top of the top, you got to sell your soul and just be a flopper.
Oh, and by the way, Jaylen Brown is also taking a career high in free throw attempts, like 2 more free throws than any previous season. Now, I'm not saying this is anything new. There's been plenty of players in the past who try to draw fouls and sell the call. It wasn't too long ago when James Harden was crucified for all the different methods he used to get a whistle. But that's the thing, he was crucified. He was hated around the league for doing this, by the media, by the fans of other teams. Over time though, with analytics saying this is the optimal way to play, it's become normalized in the sport. Players now feel more empowered than ever to exaggerate contact and sell the call, because the data says it's the most efficient way to score, especially if you're a great free throw shooter, which many guards are. The high five rule, in theory, I think these two things are definitely correlated. The rise of aggressive defense. You know the quote, "The NBA is a copycat league"? Whenever a team finds success, other teams try to replicate it. The most popular example has been the Golden State Warriors. Steph Curry and the three-point shot revolutionized the basketball landscape in a way we've never seen before. This time, it's something else. The two teams that reached the finals in 2025 were very different in many ways, but one thing they had in common was the way they played defense. They were fierce, they were aggressive, and while it drew complaints of other teams around the league feeling like they get away with being too physical, you need to match physicality with more physicality. One aspect of this is the rapidly increasing use of full-court press, a strategy that the Pacers heavily utilized in their run to the finals. And now other teams have started to adopt that in the regular season. As you can see from this chart from NBA journalist Kevin O'Connor, it is indeed a rising trend that's bound to keep rising. Another is OKC's relentless will to trap and force turnovers, a strategy that created arguably the most suffocating defense we've seen in a long time. As great as their superstar has been, it was their team's defense that carried them. As a result, other teams around the league saw this. They saw the success of the Pacers and Thunder, and while they cannot replicate the play of their stars, they can for sure try to replicate their defense. Keyword, try. Just because they're trying to doesn't mean they can do it well. The previous year saw the referees call an average of 37.2 fouls per game. Now, it increased to over 42 fouls per game. In fact, in the first 10 days of the season, refs called nearly 46 fouls per game. Right out of the gates, teams across the league were playing defense like it was the playoffs, and some were overtly physical. But much like the high five rule, it takes a while for teams to adjust. It takes a while to figure out what can they get away with, and what can they not get away with. They can try to defend aggressively, but not over the top and get called for fouls. On paper, all three of these reasons are related to each other: the high five rule, the increase in aggressive defense, and the hyper-efficiency of the modern guard. They're all causes and effects of the league-wide trend of more fouls and more free throws taken. Perhaps this is the inevitable direction the NBA is heading towards. Some say the league's popularity has been dwindling, but honestly, I don't think that's true, at least not with the 2025-26 season. In fact, reports have shown that ratings have been at its highest it's been in a while. Despite all the stoppages and fouls called, the sport is still as popular as ever, so I don't see the NBA trying to change this. Anyway, that's all folks. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section. Do you foresee this being a problem a year or two from now, if the trend continues? Or is this a new normal? Thank you all so much for watching. I hope y'all enjoyed the video, and of course, as always, I'll see you next time. Peace.